Oh, there we are. Question for you. Are we being brainwashed? Have I been brainwashed, conditioned to think that there's only one way to vote, and that's Republican? So much so that when I hear that a Democrat has won an election, oh my God, my chest tightens. After all, I'm not, if you listen to the show, I'm not the biggest fan of Republicans. They're liars, in my opinion. Every promise that we've put them in office to take care of, they've failed. In fact, in many cases, they make things worse for our economy, for our liberty especially. So why should I have such a visceral reaction to a Democrat being elected? Conditioning, I think, yes, but it's also the quality of the rhetoric and the people coming from the Democrat Party, is it not? It's a pretty scary group of people. So we're going to have to break this conditioning. A conditioning that tells us we only have two choices. Two parties have failed the people, and it's time to go another way, no matter how difficult that road may be. Stop being brainwashed. Welcome, everybody. It is the Michael Newman Show. Thank you so much for joining our show. Go to the website, michaelnewmanproductions.com. That's your link to me. Contact me. Do everything with me. You can get the links to today's show in the blog section. You can follow me on Twitter, of course, Newmaniac1, Facebook, YouTube, all that cool stuff. And the services link there as well for all the wonderful services I can provide for you. And there's also the support icon. That's where you can help keep the show going, help keep me alive, my friends. Well, so the not yesterday, what is today? Thursday? I have no concept of time anymore. Tuesday was election day for a lot of people around the country, and the Democrats, they won some elections. Oh my God, what are we going to do? U.S. Democrats claimed a resounding win Tuesday in crucial governor's race in Virginia, dealing a blow to Donald Trump's politics of division and testing the president's influence ahead of a larger battle in 2018 and 2020. So says Yahoo. Actually, it's printed on Yahoo, but or published on Yahoo, but it's from AFP, very left-wing source. Continues from the Hill. A year after suffering perhaps the most demoralizing defeat in modern political history, Democrats roared back on Tuesday, claiming big victories in races up and down the ballot and across the country. Breathing Democratic new life, wins surprised everyone, even the most optimistic party stalwarts. No one thought they were going to win or anything. They just, well, we'll go out there, we'll give it the old college try. But they didn't think they were going to win. They ended up winning several races, and I hear those results. I check out Drudge, check out the news, and I'm like, oh no. That was my first reaction. Oh my God. Oh, they're going to win again. Oh my God, it's just good. It's gonna suck. It's gonna be so bad. And it very well could be, because I've learned well from the people that have been in office of late. The entire 8 years of Obama was a complete and utter disaster on so many different levels that it's hard to even explain. It started with Bush. Bush was a horrible disaster as a president. If you care about America, if you care about the Constitution, and you care about the people of America, which are the country, by the way, it's not a piece of land, okay? It's the ideals of America. It's never been the American dream. That's a lie. It's the dream of America, a place where we can be free, and it's written in the Constitution what that means to be free, to be able to speak with no one stopping you. Okay? That's super important. We're the only country in the world that has a First Amendment like that. Right? To be able to keep and bear arms to defend oneself from any and all attackers, whether those attackers be from the government or just the dude down the street that wants your stuff. The Constitution, which is the highest law of the land, it is the law that governs the government, says that I, the citizen as an individual, have that right. but people want to take that away. And before the election, now I don't know if the guy feels the same way or not, but there was a Democratic donor on MSNBC. He was talking about the party. The party's not doing so well, and he's very fed up with the party, and so are a lot of other people.
To say, down with the billionaires, we can't stand the rich. A lot of people want to be rich. So is it the right message that the Democrats are going with?
It's so effing wrong.
Whoa.
I've talked to Schumer. I've talked to Wyden.
Wyden? Is it Biden? Or who is that? Could he have been Warren? And then, because she's kind of skinny, that wouldn't be a good joke, right? She's not a Wyden. I don't know who he's talking about.
I've talked to Pelosi.
And said what?
And I said,
how can you talk to Pelosi, really? I mean, she's just a jabbering idiot.
If you use the term billion again, I'm done.
Why?
Because it's aspirational. I didn't start with anything. Just penalize everyone that's done well. We all want to do well.
You know, it's not about penalizing millionaires and billionaires. That's not what it's about. As a matter of fact, you know, most of the money in the country is in the Democrat Party, and that is the truth. They don't really care about that. What they care about is the rhetoric behind it. It is socialist rhetoric, and it is the type of rhetoric that gives tremendous power to a small group of people. And the whole point of this is power, not necessarily to hate on the rich.
And we should be the party of doing well. We should be a party of business and leadership. And it is very, very disturbing when I hear the millionaire or billionaire word. And I've told them to stop it. Knock it off. Because everyone wants to do really well. And this is the world of aspirations.
Then are you worried that the Democratic Party is going too far to the left?
So much so, it drives me nuts. So much so, it would make me quit the party. And I've made it very clear, I'll cut your money off. And others will do the same. We've had enough.
You know, the guy, could be that he's just not good on TV. A lot of people wouldn't be. I don't know who he is or what kind of billionaire he is. Maybe, you know, he doesn't do a lot of in front of the camera CEO type stuff. So going on MSNBC and talking about it is uncomfortable for him, or it very well could be that this is a scripted type situation, a way to sort of break the ice and say, hey, the Democratic Party is moving in another direction. I don't know what's behind that. What does bother me, though, let's just take him in earnest, that what he said is what he believes, and that's the way it is. My question is this then, okay, why are you then in the Democrat Party? They've never been the party for you, or at least in rhetoric, right? So why would you be in that party? Is it the other rhetoric that you enjoy? And it's just this millionaire and billionaire stuff that bothers you because it hits you personally? Is that what it is? Because there's a whole lot more than the class warfare in the Democrat Party that is even more frightening. The type of things that they want to shove down the American people's throat, the socialism there. Understand, if you came from nothing, sir, and the Democrat Party, which apparently you support or have been supporting, continues down this socialist communist line, the ability for others to achieve what you have achieved will disappear. It will absolutely disappear. And the rhetoric around racism, the rhetoric around genetic warfare, we'll just call it that way, is so dangerous that it's causing people to go insane and kill. All over the country. All over the country. So what rhetoric is it? Is it just the personal talk that bothers you? You know, that's frankly what bothers me is the fact that you didn't call them out on any other garbage, because there is an awful lot of garbage there. And when it comes to Democrats as a whole, look at who they're giving us for candidates to vote for. Hillary Clinton. Oh, man, she was great, wasn't she? She literally sold her office to the highest bidder, and so did her husband. Is that why you are a Democrat? Because you know they're going to get people in office that will do exactly what Hillary and Bill Clinton did, and you can become famously wealthy on crony capitalism by doing favors for them, and they doing favors for you in turn? From The Blaze, an early draft of former FBI Director James Comey's public statement about the investigation into Hillary Clinton's email use said the former Secretary of State was, quote, grossly negligent, which is a legal term, by the way, with classified information. Now, in a letter to current FBI Director Christopher Wray, Grassley wrote, this is Chuck Grassley, by the way, that the committee obtained an earlier draft of Comey's public statement about the case, which said there is evidence, quote, there is evidence to support a conclusion that Secretary Clinton and others used the private email server in a manner that was grossly negligent with respect to the handling of classified information, end quote. In the controversial July 2016 remarks about the closing of the case, Comey instead said Clinton and her aides were, quote, extremely careless, which is not a legal term. Grossly negligent would be a crime in regards to classified information. Extremely careless is not a crime. And this is also something that, of course, Trey Gowdy brought up in the hearings when he was questioning Comey, and he just sort of danced around it like a lawyer would. So at some point in time, she was grossly negligent, and then somebody got to Comey, and suddenly she was just extremely careless, which to the layman is about the same thing, ain't it not? Okay. So you got the extreme carelessness, which means they don't care about the country. They care more about themselves in an attempt to hide things from the American people so they can keep on doing their dastardly deeds. They're evil, keep on stealing from the people and try to prevent them from finding out about it. And then you've got the Clinton Family Crime Foundation that was used as a filter so that money's being paid from both domestic and foreign entities to the Clintons could be sort of whitewashed, if you will, and it can flow into their pockets. And then the story about the resurgence of the story about the Clinton ties with the Russians in regards to the uranium sale, the 20% of American stockpile or of uranium in the country that was sold and approved by Hillary Clinton as Secretary of State and Barack Obama as President of the United States. And the fact that the collusion, any collusion that might have been happening, was actually coming from the Hillary Clinton campaign and not the Trump campaign. Yeah, that story was hot and heavy last week or the week before, and now it's kind of gone away again. So the most corrupt person ever in American political history, Hillary Clinton, that's who you put on the ballot. See, there's a reason not to vote for Democrats. Hillary Clinton is that reason. And of course, they all support her. For whatever reason, they all support her. She is an awful person. You know, people keep saying that she's the worst candidate in history, and they say it as if it's a game, right? She was the worst player on the field because she's not very good at sports, or in this case, she's not very good at politics and not very good at running an election. That's not what it's about. She's the worst candidate in the history of America because she's the most corrupt candidate in the history of America. The things that she might have done are staggering, and she cannot be trusted. The fact that a party would put a person like that up for the highest office of the land makes the entire party suspect, and they did it through unsavory means, right? Bernie Sanders could have been the guy, but the DNC was not going to allow that to happen. So there you go. You get Hillary Clinton. They had no one else, by the way. Was it Mike? No, the O'Malley guy? The tall guy that just sort of walked around the stage going, I'm not really sure why I'm here. You know, that guy, remember him? No, of course you don't remember him because he was the candidate for about 6 minutes. So, the candidates they put in front of us, horrible people. And then it goes deeper than that. It goes deeper than that. Because the entire game that is the Democrat Party is filled with awful people. Don Lemon being one of those awful human beings. Now, this is in regards, we get a lot of gun stuff here and a lot of tragedy stuff here. CNN host Don Lemon, as soon as the tragedy struck First Baptist Church in Sutherland Springs, Texas, progressives were quick to diminish prayer and mock those online who called for prayer of the victims. Don has a very long piece here. We're going to go through it because it's important. He says a lot of stuff here. He actually says one thing I think is good and then screws it all up. Let it roll, Don.
This is CNN Tonight. I'm Don Lemon.
Hi, Don.
Please pay attention if you're doing something or whatever. I really want your attention this evening.
Ladies and gentlemen, can I please have your attention? I've just been handed an urgent and horrifying news story. And I need all of you to stop what you're doing and listen.
How many more times are we going to have to do this? Mourn with
I'm not sorry about that, by the way. I thought it was funny.
People we don't know but meet under the most horrific circumstances, their loved ones live, snuffed out in an instant for no good reason. How many times are we going to look up at the TV and see and hear people grieving, sobbing their hearts out in front of the world, for the whole world to see? And before we even know the full story, the responses from our leaders are sadly as familiar as the details of the shootings.
Okay, first, how long are we going to have to deal with horrific killings and bad things like this going on? How many times are we going to have this story? Forever? These type of stories will happen forever, no matter what you do. Okay, as government, you cannot stop these stories of horrific shootings or horrific bombings or horrific killings. There's a ton of horrific stuff that happens, okay, that you never hear about. There's TNN, Raw, Tommy Sotomayor does a bunch of stories about some really horrific stuff that people are doing to their kids, stabbing them, throwing acid in people's faces. Just really, really awful stuff. Go check him out online because all the stories are right there. He concentrates on what's happening within the black community, but I guarantee those things are happening all over in every other community. I mean, really disgusting, horrific stuff. And there's nothing the government can do to stop it because people sometimes are a problem. So how long are we going to have to deal with these things? Forever.
Cases in point. Paul Ryan. Reports out of Texas are devastating. The people of Sutherland Springs need our prayers right now. Vice President Pence, in part, Karen and I send prayers to victims and their families in Texas. John Cornyn, truly heartbreaking news in Sutherland Springs. Please say a prayer for First Baptist congregation, first responders, and community there. Joe Manchin, who tried and failed to pass bipartisan gun measures after the Sandy Hook massacre, said this: Gail and I are heartbroken to learn of the shooting in Sutherland Springs, Texas, sending prayers from West Virginia. Ted Cruz, keeping all harmed in Sutherland Springs in our prayers and grateful for our brave first responders on the scene. Thoughts and prayers, thoughts and prayers, thoughts and prayers.
Time to pray, time to pray.
Don't get me wrong, prayers are important. They really are. But can we just be honest for a moment? And this isn't about...
Can we be honest? God isn't real. You're not doing anything. Come on, prayers, thoughts and prayers. How dare you? You know, I was a Christian a long time. You see, I went to a Catholic school and it was in the South, a very religious home. And I'll tell you right now, it's all crap. It's all garbage.
Religion, it's not about politics. Democrats do it too.
It's not about politics. Okay, keep that in mind.
President Obama has responded similarly in other shootings, and it's not about religion. As I said, I'm not anti-thoughts and prayers by any means.
No, believe whatever stupid story you want to believe.
I grew up in the very religious Deep South. a Baptist who went to a Catholic school where we prayed at least 4 times a day, plus Mass on Fridays and church on Sundays, sometimes twice. So spare me the anti-religion.
That is a little weird, though. If you're a Baptist going to a Catholic school, there is a big difference between a Baptist, a Southern Baptist, and a Catholic, right? They're actually really not going to get along. So the idea that you get street cred for being a Baptist that went to a Catholic school in the religious realm doesn't make a whole lot of sense.
Religion tweets, you can keep them. I won't even read them. I don't care. These God-fearing Christians,
Whatever you have to say, I don't care. I'm not going to listen to you because you're beneath me.
were in church. They were already praying.
See, prayer doesn't work. They were in church. What are you talking about?
Thoughts and prayers did not stop an oversight from the justice system, which enabled a guy who attacked his stepson and assaulted his wife from getting a gun.
Okay, now, stop right there. That was the important thing that he said. That's correct. An oversight. They didn't follow the law properly. This guy shouldn't have had a gun. The guy was not legally allowed to have a gun, yet he had a gun, which means regardless of what laws you pass, things will slip through the cracks. Okay? Things will not work, and those laws will be ineffectual. The laws that were on the books that could have stopped this guy didn't work. So more gun control, logically, more gun control would not, no gun control, no law would have stopped this guy because we already had laws on the books, and they didn't work.
Thoughts and prayers didn't stop a troubled person from buying assault-grade weapons that took the lives
There's no such thing as an assault-grade weapon.
of 26 people in an instant. And please don't get me wrong. This is not at all about the Second Amendment or taking guns out of the hands of responsible gun owners.
Okay, yes, it is. Yes, it is. Democrats say that all the time. This is not about taking your guns away. They have to say that because if they came out and said, hey, we're going to take all your guns away, that's not only not going to be popular, that could start an uprising.
I am a firm believer in the Second Amendment. I'll say that again. I am a firm believer in the Second Amendment. I grew up with hunters, family members, friends all around me. Louisiana, it's all about hunting. I also think responsible adults should be able to protect their home.
You know, just by the way, in the Jim Crow South, they prevented African Americans from having firearms, or at least attempted to. Why? Because with a firearm, they could potentially defend themselves against the Democrat military arm called the KKK. Right? So, had there been more firearms, had the individual African Americans in the South during Jim Crow had their own guns, they could have potentially defended themselves. Wouldn't that have been a very much different story than the way things actually worked out?
Homes, their property, and themselves. But think about this. How many guns and of what caliber does one person need?
Okay, but what sort of question is that? Who gets to decide? You? You're the one that gets to decide? How many guns and of what caliber do people need? Does it even really matter? You know, they're talking about, he's referring to as quote unquote assault weapons here because the firearm that was used was an AR-15. And they hate those. Oh, they're black and they look mean. Some of them are even camo. Oh my God. They're just so evil looking. Had the man, no one in there had body armor, right? No one in there had body armor. Had the guy walked in with a revolver, he could have done just as much damage. Right? Couple of revolvers with little speed reloaders could have done just as much damage. Wouldn't have mattered. The type of weapon he used was completely and 100% totally immaterial. And by the way, if you just want to talk about these horrific killings that we have to talk about, when are they going to stop? Most people are actually killed by handguns by a vast margin all over, especially in urban areas. Not a whole lot of assault weapon fire there. And when there is, that's bad, but not a whole lot of killings happening in that way. It's always happening with handguns, and there's a lot of them, right? A lot of murders happening, but that's not what people are getting angry about. That's not what the Don Lemons of the world are raising a stink about and saying, don't pray anymore because it doesn't do any good, right? They're not talking about that. They're not talking about the vast majority of murders in this country. They're just talking about the soup du jour, the murder du jour, trying to use it as a wedge, trying to use it as an emotional wedge to in some way separate the American public from their Second Amendment rights, because they know once that wedge gets jammed in there, once we give an inch, then it's only a matter of time before the rest of the guns are stolen from people in the United States. Stolen with force.
Does a civilian really need an arsenal?
Yes.
Does a civilian really need body armor?
Yes. And, oh, by the way, body armor. That's not an easy thing to get. You can't just go out and buy it, right? So the question is, where did this guy get this stuff? And how is body armor a gun? Right? It's that we're not even talking about guns here. Okay, well, let's just get rid of all guns. But I'm gonna want my body armor so that, potentially if somebody's got a firearm, I can survive a hit and get away. No, you can't have that either. I don't know what the hell you're talking about here, Don. Sounds like you really just want to see a lot more dead people.
Those are good questions that we should all be asking.
Are they?
Do you think they should?
Those are good questions, even if I do say so myself. I'm Don Lemon.
At least be asking those questions. Those are the questions our leaders should be debating. Our leaders should.
It's not a debate when you've already made up your mind, because the same rhetoric, we could sit down and we've debated this for I don't know how long, and you've consistently lost the hearts and minds of the American people. The American people. And that's key here.
Be leading, not following, and not afraid to be honest with their constituents, even when it is unpopular, especially when really it is the constituents' lives that are at stake.
Okay, this is very important. You get these guys like the Don Lemons of the world, and specifically the Bernie Sanderses of the world, that want Democrat socialism, okay? It's Democrat socialism. It's socialism, but it's democratic, and that's going to be great. Well, the problem with that is this exact sort of rhetoric. We need leaders that will lead regardless of what the people want. That's what he just said. Okay, we want leaders that will lead regardless of what the people want because it's in their best interest, and they're too damn stupid to know it. So you got to go in there and you got to take their rights away at gunpoint if necessary, because they're too stupid to know what's in their best interests. You don't think that's going to happen with every aspect of life if you let these people take over? You don't think that the Bernie Sanderses of the world will be making the decisions on who lives and who dies when we have Medicare for all? That's exactly what they're going to do. And by the way, at the point where we have this quote-unquote Democrat socialism, your vote will no longer count at all.
And they are. Leaders stand up
to the people.
Lobbyists.
That's right, because we're better than you.
Yes, thoughts and prayers are important. So tonight, I hope you will join me in praying that our leaders will actually do something of substance and action this time that precludes another thoughts and prayers moment. Remember this: faith without works is dead.
Now
let's begin.
Let's begin. You know what I ought to do? I ought to just change my whole outlook on life and make some money. I'm fairly decent at this, and I can lie, baby. I could do both sides if I wanted to. I should just turn into a crazy lib for a while and make some money and then retire. That's what I ought to do. But no, I'm sitting here starving to death, doing a podcast to 5 people because I think it's important, and screaming at people that disagree with me even when those people are the ones that have all the damn money. I'm not bitter at all. It's fine. And we continue. He's not the only one that attacked thoughts and prayers. No. Andrew Cuomo, yes, slams Republicans offering prayers for Texas. How dare you? He goes on and on and on about these things, just like normal Democrats do. And another interesting one, let's throw another reason for death happening here in the United States. Drexel University professor said last December the only thing he wanted for Christmas was white genocide. Yay! White genocide. Film at 11. And blamed white people and men for the Las Vegas massacre, blasted whiteness following Sunday's church shooting in Texas. The professor here, who teaches political science, not nice, at the Philadelphia College, told Democracy Now!, quote, whiteness is a structure of privilege, and it's a structure of power that when it feels threatened, it lashes out. So it happens when you're white. Yeah, it's just these dirty white people you see, and they're horrible no matter what. Yeah. And you can tell that Democrats really don't care about people that died. Representative Ted Lieu, Democrat California, congressman, walked out of a congressional moment of silence for the victims of Texas and the Texas shooting, and then posted a rant about gun control on Facebook. Thanks. You don't have a moment to, I don't know, remember the fallen? Not at all? Okay, well, that's fine. If you got things to do, I mean, tweeting, that's hard business. There's a lot of work involved with the tweets, and just, watch out. Could get carpal tunnel. Elizabeth Warren, of course, wacky Elizabeth, crazy. She's just an evil person. Never wanted to keep her mouth shut when there's an opportunity to demonstrate her leftist bona fides, decided to weigh in on Twitter regarding the Texas massacre in Sutherland Springs on Tuesday morning. Started attacking the NRA, of course, because the NRA is a bunch of awful people, and the NRA is the reason why we still have gun rights in this country, and how dare you? How dare you? We need more gun control. Take away those gun rights. They do nothing but kill people. Stephen Williford, the hero of Texas. Interesting thing that doesn't seem like any of the Democrats really want to talk about. This guy went into the church and he started attacking a bunch of people, wanted to kill. And from the reports that I heard, he was shooting children that were crying first, right? He didn't like children crying. He was a really disturbed person for whatever reason. It doesn't matter. He was a disturbed person. So he walks in there with AR-15 and starts firing at a bunch of people, and it's really bad. Do you know what stopped him? An AR-15 and someone who knows how to use it. An AR-15 was used by the mass shooter to take innocent lives, but it was also used to take him out following the most deadly mass shooting in a place of worship in the history of America. The gun control debate is raging once again, with many gun control advocates pointing out that the mass murderer used this type of weapon, and not really talking about the fact that the same type of weapon was used to take him down. I referred to it the other day. Remember that bank robbery in California, in Los Angeles, I do believe it was, many years ago, early 90s, something like that. And the cops didn't have anything that could stop these guys because they did have body armor. And they had to go to a sporting goods store to buy AR-15s to have something to be able to take these guys out. Well, there is a reason to have rifles like this, and it's for these type of guys, right? It's for these type of wacko people. And while that weapon can be used for evil, just like every other weapon and car on the face of the planet, that's immaterial. It has to do with the people that are using the tool. Gun is nothing more than a tool. And, most tools in my shop, sitting out back, can do a lot of damage to people. You could take someone out pretty easily with a ball-peen hammer, right? Hell, ball-peen I've never hurt myself with a gun. I've hurt myself with a ball-peen hammer before and didn't even mean to. Those things are mean. There's a lot of dangerous things out there, but people are the ones that are dangerous to other people. Now, this whole thing didn't have to happen, apparently. Senator Ted Cruz was on Fox News, and he was talking about Texas. He had just gone down there, talked to a bunch of people to see what was going on and see what the progress was. And apparently, there was some laws out there after Sandy Hook that Cruz got on board with that may have stopped this whole thing. Now, we're going to play this piece. We may start and stop a little bit, but probably not a whole lot. At the end of it, though, is something very, very important that you need to recognize, and it turns this whole gun debate thing, this whole debate for more regulations, on its ear. Here's Ted Cruz.
Things we learned from the Air Force this afternoon about the suspect. He had a 2012 conviction on domestic violence issues, 2014 a bad conduct discharge. The information, they say, if it had been properly entered, would have stopped him from these multiple gun purchases. The Air Force says the info didn't get entered. They've got the Inspector General of the Air Force now looking into this. How concerned are you that this is an issue?
I am deeply concerned. And Shannon, I'll tell you, as I was flying back from Texas to D.C. this evening, I was getting, to be honest, more and more angry sitting on the plane, because this should have been stopped beforehand. Under federal law, it was illegal for this individual to purchase a firearm. He had a conviction for a crime that's punishable by more than a year in prison, and he had a conviction for multiple domestic violence crimes. Both of those, it's already ineligible. But several things happened. Number one, the Air Force, the Obama administration, didn't report those convictions to the NCIS database. That's an endemic problem. It's a problem with the federal government. It's a problem with the states. And so when he went in to buy the guns, they ran the background check, and they didn't find it because it wasn't in the database.
Okay, now that's one problem. That is a real problem that should be addressed and should be fixed as soon as possible. There's no excuse for that. That's just simply the government taking your tax dollars and then not doing that which they are charged to do. Okay, that's very important. But more importantly is this next point.
But I'll tell you, we could have prevented this. In 2013, in the wake of Sandy Hook, I joined with Chuck Grassley. We introduced legislation that was called the Grassley-Cruz legislation. And it was aggressive legislation targeting felons and violent criminals to stop them from getting guns.
Felons and violent criminals. Felons and violent criminals. Remember that.
There were a couple elements of that legislation that were critical. One, it mandated that federal agencies, including the Air Force, report to the NCIS, because that was a problem back then. But two, and this is an even more critical piece, if it had been reported to the background database, when he went into Academy to buy these weapons, he lied on the forms. That is a felony to lie on those forms. The Obama administration didn't prosecute those cases. In 2010, 48,000 felons and fugitives lied and illegally tried to purchase guns. They prosecuted only 44 of them.
Ooh. What? Yeah. So you're a felon. You want to get a gun. Go into a gun store, just fill it out incorrectly. Maybe you pass the background check, maybe you don't. But you lie on the form, and you've got a chance to get a firearm there. And even though that's a felony, you're not being prosecuted for it. Why do you think, if the Democrat Party and the Obama administration were so enamored with gun control, and they so wanted to get the guns out of the hands of the people that could cause the most damage, felons, if that was important, if actually saving lives and protecting people with the judicious use of common sense gun control, why not then would the people that are attempting to thwart that law be prosecuted? Can you come up with a reason? Doesn't make a whole lot of sense, does it? Unless it was a racial thing. Could that be possible? Could be possible that it would be, call it a civil rights violation to prosecute people, felons, for attempting to acquire firearms because of the racial makeup of those felons? Was identity politics more important to the Obama administration than saving lives? Truth is, and this is very important, truth is, they don't give a damn about any of that. They don't. If the Democrats really, really wanted to help protect people while defending the Second Amendment, like they say they do, they want common sense gun legislation to defend the people and make them safe. We don't want to take away your guns. We just want common sense gun control. We've got common sense gun control on the books, and you're not enforcing those laws. So the question then is, what are you actually looking for? Look, it'll be much easier for them to take away guns from the people if they can condition the people to think that guns are evil. And part of the way you condition people to think guns are evil is to allow gun crimes to continue at a staggering rate. For their political purposes, the Democrat Party lets people die. All right, that's it. Wrapping up the show. Thank you for joining me, my friends. Hope you thought it was good. Hope you enjoyed it. Please go to the website, michaelnewmanproductions.com, a wonderful website where you can get a hold of me. You can get all the links for today's show. You can contact me. Just click the contact icon. You can follow me on Twitter, Newmaniac1. Plus, if you go to the contact icon and click the Twitter icon, it takes you right to my Twitter page. And please, please, please support the show on Patreon. That's how I stay in business, my friends. That's all I can say. I need the money. I actually have to go do man work tomorrow because I got to make some money and pay some bills. Hey, have a great evening, my friends.
Wow, see ya.